A man I'd never seen before opened my door and handed me a piece of paper. "You have 60 minutes to collect your belongings, ma'am. Access rights only." Access rights? To my own home? The locks on my front door had been changed. I stood there with my key in my hand, the same key I'd used for 30 years, and it wouldn't turn. My name is Rosa Bennett. I'm 72 years old, and the person who threw me out of my house? My own son. 3 days earlier, he'd inherited $33 million from my late husband. The house, the accounts, everything. I got a piece of paper, a lifetime lease that turned out to be worthless. But here's the shocking part. The will that gave him everything, it wasn't what my husband actually wanted. My son knew it, his wife knew it, and they did it anyway. They thought I was just a quiet old woman who'd pack her bags and disappear. They were wrong. Because in a drawer, behind an old cookbook, my husband had left me something, a ledger with secrets that would bring their entire scheme crashing down. This is the story of how I lost everything and then took it all back. But before going ahead, do subscribe the channel to never miss Unspoken Files. Tom and I built this house together. Literally. We started with a tiny 2-bedroom that smelled like wet paint and dreams. Over the years, we turned it into a home, a place that knew the rhythm of birthdays, homework, and small victories. Tom taught me how to plant bulbs in autumn, how to listen to rain without panicking, how to be patient, the kind of patience that comes from paying off mortgages and rebuilding gardens after storms. When he died 3 years ago, the house became just me and Jared, and all the things we couldn't say to each other. Jared always had charm, a quick grin, a way of convincing the world to be on his side. He left town young, came back with better clothes and quieter apologies. And then he married Elena. Elena fit into our house like new wallpaper, bright, confident, and oddly perfect at hiding the seams. Everything seemed normal until that envelope arrived. The lawyer's office was cold, professional, the kind of place where bad news is delivered in calm, measured tones. Tom had left behind accounts, investments, a trust structured in ways I didn't understand. And then the lawyer said the names written in thick ink. Jared smiled at me, and my chest emptied. The main house went to Jared, the accounts were his, and me, I had a lifetime lease, but with conditions. Conditions that could be misunderstood. I watched Jared's face while the lawyer was still talking, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Appreciation, but not for me, for what he now owned. 3 days later, everything changed. An email from the estate manager explained that my lease had been misunderstood. The locks changed at noon. A stranger handed me a printed memo. I packed what I could into a duffel bag. Elena watched from the upstairs window. She didn't lower her chin once. Not once. I moved into a hotel with a suitcase and the memory of hummingbirds. People ask me why I didn't fight that day. The truth is, life isn't a movie. You don't just give a speech and the world corrects itself. I have been quiet my whole life, not because I didn't want to speak up, but because I believed practical hands did the work that anger never could. But this time, I couldn't just fix fences and broken lampshades. This time, I needed a different kind of strength. So I watched. I learned. I observed. I learned the timing of Elena's phone calls. I learned that Jared liked his coffee from a specific roaster downtown. I learned who used which plate, who controlled the TV remote. Observation, I realized, is a soft kind of power. One morning, I was sitting in a diner, the kind of place that stores people's names on napkin dispensers. I overheard a woman laughing about a donation Elena had boasted about. I wrote down the address. It was a foundation I'd never heard of, but the name echoed something. A bank registration Tom and I had once filed for our small charity projects. That night, I went home with that scribble in my pocket and a plan forming like a storm. I opened accounts online. I pulled up public filings, and what I found shocked me. Elena ran a foundation that looked charitable on paper, but underneath, a web of shell committees, money moving in ways that looked less like charity and more like something else. Jared was on the board of a company using art auctions as financial theater. I didn't have proof of theft yet, but I had proof of patterns. And then I remembered something. Tom had this habit. He wrote notes in the margins of everything: grocery lists, books, napkins. He annotated our life like a quiet journal. One evening, I slipped back to the house. I stood by the fence, watching. Elena came out with a box of letters, laughing. She left them on the back steps. The wind scattered a few envelopes. One fell by my foot. Inside was a note in Tom's handwriting. Rosa, if anything odd happens, check the ledger in the drawer behind the last cookbook. Heart, T. That note made me angry, but not the kind of anger that breaks you, the kind that sharpens you. I went to that drawer, and there it was, a ledger. Pig-eared, with accounting entries in Tom's neat, slow hand. It wasn't about greed. It was about the truth. Tom had detailed checks to institutions, charity dinners, down payments for sick neighbors. There were 2 columns that didn't balance, and beside one column was a legal phrase that made my pulse quicken. Guardian rights for household surviving spouse. Tom had protected me. Someone had misread the legal language. Or worse, they'd chosen to exploit it. That night, under a cheap hotel lamp, I read every page until my eyes burned. I began collecting everything: records, emails, receipts from recycling bins. I became a detective in my own life. I called a lawyer, a woman I'd once taught to make coffee for the PTA me. Her eyes were sharp. She said, "We'll need to show intent, not just consequence." We filed a petition, a temporary protective order. We argued that the changes to the trust constituted undue influence and breach of fiduciary duty. The courtroom smelled of recycled paper and expectation. Jared sat with practiced denial. Elena sat with a face flattened by focus. The judge granted us a temporary injunction and ordered a forensic audit. The audit found holes, transfers from company reserves into personal accounts, money extracted methodically, not dramatic amounts, but systematic, intentional. The audit report landed in my inbox like a verdict I had earned. I went back to the house with the court order in one hand and a camera in the other. Jared came to the door. "Ma," he said. His tone was hope and habit stitched together. I handed him a copy of the audit. He read it. He didn't cry. He put the papers down and said, "We can explain." There's a difference between apology and calculation. He used the second one. They proposed a settlement, a buyout, a tax from a stipend to keep me away from the ledgers. They said it was generous, for closure, quick and quiet. I almost accepted, but then I thought of Tom's handwriting. I thought of the neighbors he'd helped, the children who slept under blankets he'd paid for without ceremony. If I accepted money to leave, the scaffolding that ensured my legal rights would erode. I refused the settlement. It cost me convenience. It turned a family problem into a public conversation, but it also brought the truth to light. Journalists wrote about it. The neighborhood coffee shop printed an editorial about fairness and wills. People donated receipts. A pastor shared checks signed by Tom. The community rallied. The final court hearing was long. Witnesses were called. The ledger was the center of gravity. The judge read passages aloud in her cool voice, and I listened, feeling like a single hand finding a needle in hay. The judge's ruling didn't produce slamming doors or raised voices, just careful legal language that reordered everything. Part of the home reverted to a co-ownership structure. The judge required restitution for the contested transfers. Elena's foundation had to return misallocated funds, with penalties. Jared's face went gray. Elena left the courtroom with her posture broken. They didn't spend another night in our house. In the weeks that followed, people came by with casseroles and stories Tom had quietly told them over coffee. I sat on the porch and listened to the town reveal itself like a book. Forgiveness didn't tumble out of my pockets. I carried a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. I had won something that restored the practical shape of my life, but I'd lost the private narrative I'd once protected. Some things were restored. Some things changed irrevocably. Jared called once after the ruling. He left a long voice message. He spoke about pressure, about Elena's ambitious plans, about how numbers can feel like success when hearts are hungry for meaning. He admitted to choices that hurt me. He asked for one meeting. He wanted to come home and fix what he'd broken. I called him back. I invited him to the porch. He came with rolled sleeves and tired eyes. We talked like two people who'd once built a treehouse together and then realized the ladder had been ripped away. He said the words I'd always wanted. "I'm sorry." But there's a difference between letting someone back into your life and giving them the same keys. I told him reconciliation would be measured and slow, that it wouldn't undo what happened. Trust is a slow deposit. Months later, the cherry tree bloomed again. My hands found the soil the way people find calluses for work they've chosen. I planted bulbs in the fall, without the question of being a tenant in my own yard. I started a small program helping elderly neighbors negotiate wills and documents so others wouldn't be blindsided by formal phrasing. When I tell this story, people ask what the real victory was. The court decision restored rights. It recovered misused funds. But the larger victory? It was the slow return of familiar routines. The knowledge that my life didn't evaporate when others decided to read the map differently. Tom's handwriting saved us in a way that felt almost gentle. Jared brings his grandson now. He holds the baby like someone learning to be careful again. There is a certain peace to living where the night smells of pine and old books and coffee. The house isn't the same. People change. It's not better or worse. It's honest. If this story has a moral, it's this. The small records matter. The grocery list you toss could hold a note that proves intention. The ledger you ignore could be the map that keeps you from being erased. I don't expect everyone to clap for me. I only expect that when your life is quietly cataloged, you take the time to read your own entries. You cannot unwrite the past, but you can change what it reads going forward. I am Rosa Bennett. I live here, and the porch light is mine to switch on. Thank you so much for listening to Rosa's story. If it touched you, moved you, or made you think twice about protecting what's yours, please hit that like button. It really helps. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more life stories of courage, resilience, and justice. Stories that remind us that sometimes the quietest voices fight the loudest battles. Before you go, a quick note. This story is a work of fiction, created for entertainment and storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The characters, names, and incidents portrayed are products of imagination. Thank you for watching.